last time on the Empire's Edge. I could use one of those greater healing potions because I am 1 point down and it's...
Shut up.
Yeah, I'll give you a reason to need to. The faux mutilator. It's got what death craves.
The missing god, the star.
I'm not taking his armor off him. I'll bury him in his armor. It feels kind of ghoulish to just take it from him that way.
Anytime I have a chance, I'm examining those stones, the crystal books.
When you set the roots, the surface of the actual pedestal you're sitting on changes, and it almost looks like the two things meld, so it's becoming one stone. Remember, they stay clamped onto you while you're moving about up here, and like trying to shuck that clamp would be
drop you.
Bad.
I think our immediate priority should be Shipanov's mission.
It shows us a whole city.
Right.
And now we have a citywide scavenger hunt to do.
So this is a repeat of what happened 50 years ago. What I wonder is if we've got a style to look at and something from reasonably the same age might help narrow down what we're looking for in Karnkeldli.
And it's either laying siege or it is the army that is rallied to the Vidborg banner. You can see another city-sized area, a place that would have made Sarntar Azul look small.
What? Oh my gosh.
There's a big flat rock. It's like the size of a house, like a little plateau.
That's
in
a
the river
very
itself.
big flat rock.
It's a very big flat rock. It knows this flat rock, this rock in the river, to be Worland. You feel like you have a new awareness or newness of the things that you have right now, and you spend the night in the safest place you've been in, and you can relax. So you wake up refreshed, feeling good about the place where you are. You had your best night's sleep ever. And as you're getting into your morning spells, morning routines, Zelen, you note something's different as you're preparing your morning spells.
Did she level up and we didn't?
Wait a minute, that's not fair. Yeah.
She's now 10th level.
Damn it. She got all of it. Like, not only did we not level up, she got our levels.
Same with the D.
And crawls.
Same with the D.
Yeah, she got crawls level 2. That you realize what's different is that because of the study of these particular stones, these wizard-like spell books that are just so unusual, you realize you're able to prepare one wizard spell per level. So no additional slots, but you have one wizard spell you could have ready.
Ooh.
Yay me.
Okay. And the moral of the story is read more books, kids.
Yeah, right.
And not only that, because of all this study in stones and what you've been working on, and it's something you've been, was it way back when you first got to Weldon? You were looking at the possibility, are stones something that you could actually use to put magic into? Again, your study through this.
I think as a tangent, that was in Gryan that you were starting to think about that, that using stones as an artifact when Olsen's grave was first broken into.
I mean,
Zelen was stoned before it was cool.
It's been,
she is a druid.
It's been part of my study all along is stones and their properties and what they could do.
You know at this point that you can cast your cantrip level spells into either River Jasper, Smoky Quartz, or Amethyst. A piece that would be about like the size of the cup in the palm of your hand, nothing smaller than that. But you could definitely put it in a large or something as well. But you can have those cast, and once they're cast into it, they'll stay in that until cast out or until the stone itself is destroyed.
Oh, that's awesome. So can I tell, is it only me that can cast, once they're in the stone, is it only me that can cast from them? Or if I cast some of them into stones and gave some to Jacob and some to Boris, could they cast those cantrips?
We'll have to go through the various cantrips and how they're initiated, but yes, that's a great potential. Other people would be able to cast things out of it too.
I'm waggling my eyebrows. You just can't see me.
Right.
That's gonna be cool.
What I'd want to know is whether or not the stone is consumed when that's done, or does it have to actually leave your hand? Like if you produce flame into a piece of jasper, and we put it in a sling and just winged it at something away and nailed it. Could we, 1, recover the gem, 2, use it like that? Or are we just limited to we activate it and then we throw fire
The
like
DM
normally
and I will
cast.
work that out
Oh
later.
my gosh. Like amethyst arrowheads with
Right?
owl-fletched feathers for the...
Holy
Yeah.
Moses.
That
dipped
sounds
in the
so
poison
cool.
that I forgot about from episode 5.
Well,
That
and
somehow hasn't decayed yet.
what we're going to do, what I'm going to do, I'm sure, is DM to DMs that are out there, is play it in the moment and work out a guideline so I can see how
Yeah,
that would work.
definitely. Yeah.
But it would be neat too to
Message
think
us
about
on Twitter and Instagram if you have opinions.
Yeah, amen to that.
The action
That-
economy is super important, knowing
Yeah.
how to balance it.
That
Right.
as you do that sling idea with produce flame was in a stone, it has a range from right there. So could you actually wing it to a direction, ricochet it off of a thing, or it hit something, and cast from that point
Right.
from there
Right.
on too?
Yeah.
So
That's
all
neat.
kinds of possibilities.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Start setting them in weapons and armor.
All right, fine. I'm
All
glad.
right,
I'm
then-
glad she's level 10 and we're not. This is fine.
And no one leveled up last night.
Clearly, as we are then moving and traveling, I'm going to be specifically looking for these stones. I have a little bit of amethyst.
Oh, heck,
Boris,
we'll
do
help.
you have smoky quartz?
I've got a bunch of amethyst.
Okay.
We
okay.
got a lot of shards from when we got blowed up.
Okay. I only
He's still picking some out of his back from when he hit the opposing wall.
I was
that was in the other suit of
specifically
armor.
picking up stones that that had a higher vibration, that had some healing properties in them already. So I
Only ones
did
with
not
good
have as many.
vibrations.
That's right. I had 4 chips of amethyst that I took, and I already have 6 river stones. But I'm going to be definitely
Yeah.
looking for those stones as we move, so I can gather more.
I've got
Okay.
9 amethyst pieces, and I can definitely pitch in and it's like, is this? What
Do you
you're
have
looking for?
smoky quartz?
I do not.
Okay.
I have smoking supplies, but
that's
that's very
I
different.
thought someone had smoky quartz. But
Yeah,
okay.
I thought someone did too. When you were back in the tunnel, you found the first area where originally the lizards were encased. They're like in their embryonic form. I thought you guys had picked some smoky quartz up there too.
No idea. Yell at
Maybe.
us on Twitter if we forgot a thing.
We're going to find in the back of Boris's pack in like a few weeks from now. Like, oh, crap. I did have 36 pieces of smoky quartz.
Crawl and packs her stuff.
Excuse me
Oh,
while I
God. She
type.
had the wrong bag.
But anything else before you guys depart the region of the tower?
No, I think
ready
we
to
were
move
just...
on?
we
Yeah,
were
just
heading-
making sure illusions are in place and that it's as safe as we can leave it.
Yeah.
It is.
And then
It may be
Re-
even safer because now
Oh, yeah,
are
definitely.
women, are we leaving the roots there or are we taking them with us?
It
I think
fused
it
into
became-
the
yeah, it
thing.
became
Oh, that's
part of
right.
it, yeah.
It fused in. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
it cast a hallow spell. So
Right.
it is, like
Yeah.
who said it a moment ago, it is better there
better,
and more
yeah.
protected than
Leave
That
it
moment
better
ago,
than
dear
you found
listeners,
it.
was last week.
So yeah, right. So now, what about everything? If this place is so protected, should we consider leaving the Z block here? Should we consider leaving? I would rather have the spell books with me because I'm still studying them. There might be more that I can learn from them. But is there anything else that we should consider leave here if this is so protected?
Remember how the that Zurek talisman the zombie thing was using to Spencer was using to track us?
Yeah,
Remember how that was useful in the tomb to get that information?
It's true.
that's true. That's true. We don't know what else.
Initially, I'd agree with you that we want to keep, potentially dangerous artifacts in as secure location as possible.
But what if?
But we might need it, and I'd hate
Right.
to just have to come marching back here and
The
then
old
marching
adage,
back to
Better to have and not need.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And
All right. I'm cool with that.
I'm feeling pretty confident in a post Whitney Pratt universe. So
May he rest in pieces.
yeah, right. So I'd rather have it with me
Okay. I'm
than
good with
risk
that.
it getting stolen by something.
Let's walk on.
All right, with
Yeah.
all of that,
Back,
so
back down the
everything
river
is
on our
set.
way to Hiller.
That's right. Heading
Oh
down
man,
the
how are they going to react as we just pop in out of nowhere?
Screaming.
Months
been a long
mainly
time.
screaming.
I have to think about when that was. That like episode, I don't know, 8?
Four?
4? You left
I
Hiller-
think
Hiller at
Stockton
4?
Hiller was 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Come full circle. That's pretty
Yeah, no
amazing.
kidding. That was months and months ago in real life too.
Yeah.
It
So
might have been the same amount of time.
I'm yeah,
Not
right.
quite.
I'm
I
going
think
to-
that's like 6 months here.
Encounter. All right, the first day. So Jacob, give me a survival check just
I
to.
can do that. Ooh, yeah, and we're in my favorite terrain, so that's a 28.
Nice.
You take them right back through the way you got up to the Horseshoe Falls. You're finding your own track.
Hey
There's-
guys, remember that bear?
I was saying,
There's a skeleton here
there's
now.
no skeletal remains. It was right there at the edge of the creek, so it's certainly been washed away. But if you had wanted to, you could go back into that foundry-like room
and
if
like
you
touch the
wanted
rock
to.
and but
Heal up again.
All
but I
that
think
stuff
we're
is
already
there.
full.
Yeah, we've had at least one long rest between now and our last fight.
This is true.
And so the question would probably still be in your head, was that foundry part of the Kremlin Protectorate, or is that part of Old
Right.
Gravis?
Yeah.
Because
I think we were reasonably confident it was Kremlin.
Yeah, because like we recognize the building style as being
yes, and
Kremlin-esque.
Yeah,
and
the
that's the
script, I
exact
think.
point, that you do know that, okay, all the stuff, even this far out, it seems like all of the Brimroar and even adjacent regions was all part of the Kremlin Protectorate. It
Which
was a vast
further
area.
adds to the case that we can reasonably recognize Kremlin architecture for when we're cruising around in Karn Keldly trying to find Shiphanov's mission.
Yeah.
Ooh, yay.
Oh, very, very wise point.
Hey, if we are traveling past where we encountered the Grix, I will cast a spell to help that forest area regrow as well.
That
I
was
don't
like
know if we're
6
traveling
forest
that.
fires ago. I have no idea where
Yeah,
that happened.
I think that's
you probably
significantly
wouldn't
further
be.
south.
We wouldn't be.
You
Okay.
wouldn't be that.
Never mind.
hitting
I'll
that
save that
area.
spell slot.
I think that's when we were crossing the Brimroar.
I'll send it good vibes.
Oh, yeah.
So
You'll hope without
Jacob?
confessing to anything.
you found the spot. You're leading right back through the exact same direction, and then you get to an area where you're in. Well, you're on the upper reaches, the middle branch of the Quiet Telfalva, and you're walking back down through. And in a weird nostalgic way, everything seems very familiar. It's just that there isn't some kind of a zombie-esque thing stalking you through the night to ruin the mood for the place.
Yeah, right.
But you
yes.
recognize that within like the next half an hour or so, you'll be down into the town of Hiller. That you're
yes.
coming right back out of the waterway.
Oh, it's gonna
into
be so
that
cool
town.
Be
going back.
super casual. Hey, Hugh, how you been? Hugh,
Yeah. Names.
So, anything else you guys want to do before you get into Hiller? Any
Wash. Make sure we're not covered in blood.
Right, yeah.
Well, and I'm looking for stones everywhere we go.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Everywhere
So, go and
you
roll a
look.
percentage for me. Do you want low? Do you want high?
want high.
Can I give advantage on that because I'm helping look for stones too?
I mean, I'm also helping looking, but that's might be why she's getting a percentage in the first place.
I got 40. Am I allowed to roll it again because they're helping me? Maybe
No.
they could roll theirs to see if they could roll theirs to see if they find it some.
They may certainly do that too. They're looking for it. But you did not, Zelen, on that way.
Where's my other errors?
33.
Okay, well, the
How did
80
you
and
get
the
a
other one hit the
33
ground.
on a percentage? I thought they were just these.
No,
ones
you
that
rolled
just-
both of the D10s, but
You
since
rolled
yours was a
that one,
40,
too.
it wouldn't have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
40, whatever that was. So from the trip from where you were down to Hiller, no one found any of those 3 different types of stuff.
Keep
Aw,
looking.
man.
We'll find them.
Oh, there you go. That's why we got 3 rolls. We were each looking for a different kind, and
And then
There
you
was
can
none.
you start hearing the different sounds of domesticated animals, of the people that are there, of conversations talking, and you're
I
right
think the
there.
term you're looking for is actually local.
That as you get to the area of the dock, you can see there's a lot of activity. Things are happening right there, and you do see Hugh, the guy who was your contact. Who was your contact? To whom
yeah.
you brought the barge up when you brought
Who's
it
my
from-
contact?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So,
You are me? No,
You walk up to
I'm
him?
Hugh.
I'm approaching him not necessarily in a threatening way, because I know that we only
No,
had
of course
all of.
not.
Like, oh yeah,
Like,
I would never approach anyone in a
half an
threatening
hour.
way, but like, yeah. 'cause
Yeah, but we gave him alcohol the last time we were here. He's
We
going to
did.
be
I
You
happy
might
to
not
see
remember
us.
us because of that.
and I don't have any to offer
And
him
you
at
have
this
none
exact
right
moment.
now, yeah.
Hello, Hugh.
We've got camphor.
We're back.
How are you? No, I do approach him, and
Yeah, we probably all do.
all of us together, and just saying whatever a standard greeting would be in the Brimroar.
you just say it like
Hello.
you'd say it.
Morning.
Good morning, Hugh.
Jacob, go ahead and roll a charisma roll for me. You're just straight roll, unless you have
Persuasion.
20.
persuasion.
Oh,
Ooh,
persuasion.
nice.
I do have persuasion.
I do not have persuasion. It's the
You
same one.
Roll a 2, Boris, if you want
Yeah.
to. But what'd you roll,
Unnatural
Jacob?
20, so natural
Okay,
17.
Very nice.
I am not as persuasive.
And he looks shocked and surprised, startled that he's seeing you again. But then you can see he's also trying to put together, who are you exactly? Then he's like, wait.
And
he's like, you came from Worland? You're the Worland guy with the boat?
yes, Sparky sent us up with the boat. We brought up that group, or we brought up that shipment, and then we headed out into the woods.
You're Jacob.
Jacob, that's me.
Well, it's good. I'm really surprised. That was quite the thing that day. All kinds of horrible stuff happened that day. When you were here, when you left, some crazy guy moving through. The next night, I should say, that there was some guy back walking through the town, looking through the town. Everyone was just scared out of their socks, keeping their doors locked, staying inside. And then a couple days after that, it seemed like it was all clear and we could come back out again. But we didn't know what to make of that. And then when you didn't come back, we figured you just died out there somewhere in the Brimroar. Amazing.
Yeah, it was a one interesting trip, but we know the man that you're talking about. We moved further into the Brimroar, and we found him as well, but we did our best to stay away from him.
Well, that would make sense. Terrifying presence, whatever he was all about. But it's been quiet here ever since, and you can see, and he points just a little bit upriver, just like 100 feet upriver. They're making a new pier.
Ooh,
wow.
They're working on driving in the pylons right now.
Because I remember when we got here, they built Hiller to like be his massive trading post, and it never actually lived up to that.
Yeah, it never happened.
But now it might actually start to do that because of
Weldon,
that's the name of it.
Yeah, Weldon is like be the long way around from Hiller, but Shepton. He said there's some town up there called Shepton, and so we're going to see if we can't.
That is good.
We're going to be punching a road through towards Shepton to see if we can make contact. But the first point is that the Baron has ordered us to rebuild our dock facilities to get horses, wagons, facilities up here. So. Yeah, we're on the cusp of big changes here.
Glad
in
to
Hiller.
hear it.
But here
That's
and now, it's like,
fantastic.
yeah, Shepton, we know it. We know it well.
So
and
are
they
you?
need some hunters up at Shepton. If there's any hunters here looking for work or looking to resettle.
I'll put the word out, and that's Miss
He only knows me. That's
Zellen.
right.
I'll put the word out, Miss Zellen, that they need hunters up in Shepton. We hadn't heard that.
Well, we're actually looking to see if we can't contract with you another ride back down into Worland where we're looking to return. Is there one leaving soon or something that we could help with to head out of town?
We have one going out tomorrow. You want to ride back down with that one?
That would be
That'd be great.
I'll be taking that one down myself, and I need the boat back. So, yeah, I'll ride down with you. It shouldn't take us more than a couple of days.
fantastic.
All right. So, unless you have anything particular you want to do, I'm just going to roll the very rare possibility that there's any kind of an encounter right here, right now. And unless you have something to say, it is tomorrow.
Yeah, it's now.
Let's go.
Okay. So Hugh says goodbyes. Through the course of that day, word gets around through Hiller that those people that were there right when the terror had happened. And Hugh keeps assuring them that no, they weren't part of the terror. And that was part of what that charisma check was all about, that people were associating Jacob and then his friends with what was going on that was bad at that time period.
No, I guarantee you, we're the good guys.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't say anything about that. Yeah, we finally found him and aired him out. So,
that would have been
he's no
very
longer-
stupid.
no longer a
Give
threat.
me some credit. Come on.
lot of credit. I give you a lot of credit. And then you're on the boat heading down, and you go through the entire day heading downstream. He was talking nonstop about this field here, that place there, the right fishing hole. And Jacob, in particular, when it comes to game, hunting, fishing, places to put in along the upper reaches of the Telfalva, the quiet Telfalva, and then just the headwaters of the Telfalva, you can always give yourself advantage when you're looking for food, game, anything else there in that region, or places just to put in for a boat. Too.
Love it.
And then
Watch we're never there again.
that actually going back and forth to Hiller, there's probably a lot of reasons to go up through that
Yeah, right.
direction because it takes you right to Azongo's tower.
Yeah,
It's like
we'll
the
be
way
there
to
at
get
least
right.
at least 2 more times.
Yeah.
It's true.
3,
And then
however many.
as you're losing light or it's getting close to, dusk will be coming on in an hour or so, he finds a good place to put in, puts the boat in, you guys
I
set
help
your
him with
camp.
advantage.
Okay. Right. And he is the advantage. And just rolling. So there's no encounter through the night. Anything else you guys are doing in particular when you're on your one river camp?
Same thing as always, just kind of like still continuing because I know we're getting close to Worland. I want to make sure my maps are ready because we're going to be meeting with the Baron when we get there to have that visual aid is what I'm going to work on.
Okay. Sounds
yeah,
good.
I'm going to be reading through Stanislav and Timothy's journals.
All right. Give me a percentage roll. Do you want high or do you want low?
I'll take high.
All right. You went in the 90s then.
Oh,
Okay, this
All
is a
right.
small percentage difference. Aw.
52.
Okay, yeah. So it is, you're just reinforcing what you've read before, poring over it, looking for connections, folding pages in a weird way to see what things line up this way and that way. But nothing else is found out. Anything else?
Holding a
So-
page in front of the fire to see the secret message.
Of course, I'm still studying the crystal blocks. I also am going to be looking for stones. And then finally, I think I'm going to send a bluebird messenger to let them know that we're on our way and see if maybe I can get maybe the druids to meet us.
Yeah, do we know when we can tell them to expect us?
It'd probably be in the next 24 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. So early.
So
early
yeah,
morning, maybe.
what time is it now? It's
Dusk.
Okay, so
you've
we'll
made
be
your camp. Yeah.
late night the following day. Yeah,
Yeah.
let them know.
Something like that. And at that same time, so you're about to say, Zelen, you wanted to do something else, or was that with the...
So I want to look for the stones.
Okay, roll that percentage again.
And I roll these two things?
That's correct. Do you
it's
want
too bad-
low or do you want high? You have to
Too
say it
bad
ahead of
the
time.
stones aren't game. Otherwise, I could look for them with advantage. Right?
Yeah, right.
61.
Okay, no, you don't find any more there
think.
either. That
Was
is
that
it's 61,
yeah.
yep.
Okay.
And what was the particular message you're sending with the bluebirds down to... The Druids?
To let them know that we're coming, so that they can meet us, because I want to meet with the Druids.
Yeah.
And they could definitely alert the Baron that we're on our way, so they know.
Okay, so with that thought about the Baron, have you guys thought about what you do want to say to him or what you don't want to say to him?
He needs a full brief. That's
Everything.
a good point. Yeah, we're
You're
going to tell
telling
him everything.
Okay.
Yeah, but only him. I mean, there's some of this that really we should not be talking about publicly for sure.
Right, yeah. That I
True.
think while we're talking to the Druids, while we're moving through to the meeting room in the keep, we should keep it to stuff that'd be kind of generally known.
Yeah,
Like,
Weldon, Shepton.
if Shepton's that much more known.
Well, I mean,
makes
they're
sense.
punching a
Yeah,
road
he
to
knows about
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
fair. So yeah, expanding, I guess, the circle down into those two towns,
Yeah.
I guess, would be probably the best topic.
Yeah.
The safest topic.
Okay, then you go through the night. I've already rolled for the encounter. There's no encounter. You get the next morning, make your camp, prepare spells, and you're on the river again, traveling down.
Yep.
And you travel through the course of this day to where, again, dusk is coming on. And Jacob, you can tell that Hugh is about to put the boat in for another overnight.
Mm-hmm. But if it makes sense, so we're hours, if anything. We're just outside the city. We feel like, right?
Yeah,
Or-
you would if you wouldn't ask him. Go ahead and ask me.
Oh, yeah.
Ask him. Yeah.
Well, I probably know that too, because if I'm such a great survivalist, right? But I'll ask him to, just to make the conversation with him. So, Hugh, we're reasonably close to what's the name of it? Worland.
Worland.
We're reasonably close to Worland at this point, aren't we?
Oh, we are maybe 4 hours, maybe something like that. 3, maybe something like that.
Would you mind if we continue traveling through the night? We have some rather important business that we'd really like to get into town as quickly as possible.
It might be slower going, but we can certainly keep on as we are.
Absolutely, and we'll do the best that we can in order to aid the travel in the night.
Well, Boris, why don't you look into that crate that's bolted down to one end of the barge and unlimber those lanterns and get those going.
Will do.
And once you guys set up for like night running that way, he gets a bite of food, you guys eat, and you just push off and keep on going.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so you head in, and from there, it is a little slower. You've ever been on a boat in the water with very limited light? It is kind of eerie going down a river that way.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's going to put you after midnight. By the time you get there, call it 1 o'clock, that you're actually pulling up to, there's more light sources. There's lights all over the place. It's mostly dark in Worland, but you know that this conglomeration of buildings and lights has to be Worland.
Oh yeah.
And he takes you right up to the dock area, which is, of course, a much more developed area. And it's completely quiet at the docks. But as things resolve and your eyes have adjusted to, the more of the silhouettes of things, you realize that at the dock right there, that all 3 of the Druids are there waiting for you. You can see June Tannel, you can see Ina Moore and Drew Lander all waiting
They're
there.
creepy.
The welcoming party.
I
there.
immediately go to just hug them and
She jumps off the
June,
boat and swims the
Anna.
rest of the way.
Hey, I
She
have
just
water
walks
walk.
on
I
the
can
water.
cast it.
Oh my gosh.
Drew.
And they are thrilled to see you. There's a lot of laughing. They're so happy that you're there. And from a light comes out from a building behind where they are, and you can see it's Sparky Dawson, and he's holding a bottle. I think he's kind of freaked out that these guys have been sitting here for so long.
We didn't send a bluebird to Sparky.
And
Could you imagine that drunk, just like a bluebird, just like pecking at him?
Well, the Druids didn't tell anything to the man. I feel bad, but he's
Hugh,
awake now.
Hugh ties off the boat, and he and Sparky go into that building, and they just shut the door.
Oh, okay.
They're not even going to unload whatever the
Then
cargo was for
fantastic. I
this
was
one.
going to offer to
Let
help, but
them
they're not
weirdos
worrying about
be.
it. Then yeah, they're
Yeah.
not going to worry about it. We're not going to worry about
So
it.
you're heading back to the Druid Circle, to their home?
I
or are
think
you
we should
heading
go
up
directly to the Baron.
I think
Yeah,
the-
bring the
probably
Druids
directly
with
to
us.
the keep.
All right, so you head toward the keep, and as you're doing that, there are just a couple of people here and there that are on the way, but for the most part, 1 in the morning.
They look living.
Thankfully, yes.
Good question.
What are you? It's like, what are you doing up? Go to sleep, weirdo. What are you doing up?
Whatever that. And then you can hear by the sound of it, Boris, it's a person in armor that is now approaching your position. And as he comes up,
Yeah, given the last time, I think I like slightly tense, but this is a friendly town, so he's probably not going to try and kill me.
and you can even recognize as he's coming forward and he has a lantern, you can see by that lantern light, he wears the tabard of the city guard, the city watch of the city of Worland.
Mm-hmm.
And as he moves forward, he says, "Declare yourself." In no way like threatening, like, "Declare yourself or die where you stand." He's just like, "Declare yourself."
I'm Boris Kirsonov and companions.
Boris Kirsonov, the Baron has said that you could be arriving anytime from a week ago or a month from now. He would want to be awakened immediately. I'll escort you. And he turns about.
Our names mean something. That's
yeah,
so cool.
right. And as we're going through, if there's a servant, is there a servant moving through right now, or
What, through the street?
the keep? As once we get to the
yeah,
keep.
you're not even there.
Oh, okay.
As you're even like moving
Never
through the
mind.
streets, because that he was almost at a jog, and then he slows down because you guys are definitely still walking.
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't, and the druids are staying with you, all
Right.
three of them.
It's his first day. He's
That-
excited.
Yeah.
Every now and again, as a door opens to see what is going on, or somebody happy going up to use the chamber pot and look out, and they see one of the city guard, one of the city watchmen, and then there's others with him, and he starts saying things when he sees a person at the window or at a door. He says, "It's Boris Kirsonov." Now again, he doesn't name the other two people. Sorry, Zell
That's
and
okay.
Jacob. But Boris lived here for a while. He was being trained among them. And so that is such a big deal. He's, from their point of view, one of their own. And it becomes more and more to where people are going to other doors, knocking on the door saying, "It's Boris Kirsonov." And there's, by the time you actually get to the keep, which is only about a 10-minute walk away,
Are they laying out palm fronds?
Oh wow! Walking on water, laying out palm
Wow.
fronds. Fantastic, guys.
really.
There's
So
no religious symbolism here at all.
Jacob walks back to Sparky's place and gets a whiskey.
Actually, no. I get some water, and by the time I come back, it's wine.
It'll be wine. Wow. So by the time you're getting to the keep itself, there's probably like 50 people that are walking along with you, and they're in like whatever kind of a robe thing they put on, and their nightshirts and whatnot, and there's just a general to-do. Now, you all pick up on another fact of the place, that there is a lot more to Worland, that it wasn't more than like 4 streets crossed and little shops in between it, that you can tell on the periphery, the people running in from, that there is much more of the town. You can't tell out there in the dark, but there's a lot of new construction. There's just like big stacks of lumber, of stone. There's stuff all over the place. You feel like the entire town is a construction site right now. There's just a lot going on.
We have a fantastic effect on anything that isn't nature.
And then when you get to the main gate, the guard, he announces himself. He announces Boris. And they don't open the main gate to the place. They open one of the postern doors. And you walk in through that way. And so now you're in. So
Okay.
whatever you want to say, Boris.
Is there a servant moving in the area?
There'd be somebody tended that's
yeah,
just inside the door.
I'd get their attention and say, have food and drink brought to the Baron's meeting room. We'll be there for a while.
Of course. And they go off to, rouse whoever's in or whomever is in the kitchen to do those sorts of things. And when you are just about getting to where that receiving chamber, that meeting chamber is, you can hear that there is a greater tumult happening somewhere else in the keep itself. And through all of that sound, you can hear the voice of the Baron. And he is you can hear him saying, what, Jacob Dreadstone, the cartographer, Zelenadar, oh yeah, and Boris Kirsonov, and just there's do this, make this, rouse
Booming
this.
and commanding, yeah.
And he's yelling at everybody to
Did
do
he really
stuff.
say my name first?
And then
Well, given you were mapping out the area that's his new base of power,
yeah,
I believe it.
pretty important. He
fantastic.
has a number of knights. Druids are still kind of okay, yeah, they do their stuff. I'm not sure. But the guy that maps my territory, yeah.
That's fantastic.
So when you get in there, he shows up and he has some kind of royal-looking robe on himself. He didn't even wait to get dressed either. And on his elbow is his wife, the Lady Weldon Worland rather. And so they come in. There's some other people that look like they just walk up,
And
got
then,
out of bed.
bows and greetings as customary and
Yeah.
respectful.
And he seems to not care
Courtly
about
shenanigans.
any bit of that.
No pageantry, just get to the story.
And as he's reaching his hand out, as it's coming out, what he wants.
I hand him the maps.
Yeah, is the maps there, and he sets them down, and he's like, he just with the hand is, whoosh, he just unrolls the first thing there, and he's looking for it, and as your finger comes down on it, to say, well, here we are, right here in Worland, and then he starts getting his bearings from there, and that's when he looks up to the three of you, and he says, I am ecstatic that you're back here, that you're alive, that things have gone so well. Worland is changing so much. Master Treadstone, this is fantastic. You must talk me through every bit of this, all the tales of this. Mistress Adar, that you have returned. I'm very happy to hear that. What has been happening? What has been going on?
Well, we'll start right after we left. We departed here and headed upriver, and we became aware that a Zrek operative was tracking our movements. We escaped him and actually tracked him to a large Kremlin-era foundry where we then fought and defeated him. We then continued up the quiet Talfalva to Horseshoe Falls, where we discovered a tower that was the dwelling place of the sky servant Azongo, I believe. I said that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's see. And then in that tower, we found a scrying device that we used to locate the first piece of an artifact. We left there. We found Shepton. You've probably heard the name Shepton at this point. And we found it being threatened by giant lizards. Adjacent to that town, we found an ancient tunnel that ran through a mountain. We traveled through it and found more lizards encased in smoky quartz, the same ones threatening the town. And we believe that the ancient people who made that tunnel used the lizards as mounts.
Then in kind of a central area for that tunnel, we found wasps, giant wasps that were released into the Brimroar when the power source there overloaded and exploded. Past the Shepton tunnel, we found a valley that had been claimed by a tribe of bugbears, and part of their rites and rituals was to claim an owl feather from atop a cliff. Those owls proved to be gigantic, and a race of beings, they refer to themselves as the Donalar. When I completed that rite, it granted us safe passage through their territory, at least temporarily. Once we got through the tribe lands, we found the ruins of the ancient city Sarntar Azul. There we met a madwoman, Violet, who was the last living descendant of the city's ruling family. She led us to a tomb where we discovered a powerful undead being named Abner. Abner slew her, but we destroyed him. We also discovered an ancient crystalline spell book, and part of that spell book was a block marked with a Z we believe is also connected to the Zrex.
We kept going south, and as we were moving, we realized things were being drawn towards the throne. Ultimately, we understood it was Abner who was doing it. We saw hill giants, wormlings, bugbears. We fought our way through and made it into the gate, but then we still had to get through obstacles to get to the throne itself. The throne is beautiful and intact. When we interacted with it, we gained greater awareness and also recovered that first piece of the artifact. The throne directed us to Shapanov's mission to recover the next piece. On our way out, we neutralized all the major threats in the region and returned to the tower so we could learn where to go next. We encountered a Zrek party. We realized actually that they were tracking us. There were warriors and spellcasters, very powerful. We defeated them. Whitney Pratt was among them. When we got back to the tower, we used its scrying device to determine that Shapanov's mission is somewhere in Karn Keldli.
And when you're going through all that, you noted he had reactions at particular points. One, when you said that there was a Zrek tracking you, he had a reaction, and he and one of the people nearby that you would recognize as being his steward, they look at each other and exchange that, what? That didn't make any sense. Why would a Zrek be tracking you? And then when you mentioned a foundry, you could see the light in his eyes, that if there could be some kind of a foundry that he could actually get operational again, he's already thinking that way, how magnificent that would be. At the mention of Sarntar Azul, he's downright startled. Like if you had heard a story from childhood and then somebody actually said, oh, by the way, that's real.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we found Atlantis while we were hiking around in the Appalachian Mountains.
Because we saw it from the top of the tower. The thing was massive.
Massive.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have a lot more questions about that, but we'll get into in just a little bit. The throne itself, he actually wants clarification. Jacob, is the throne of the ages, the gate of the ages, is the gate of the ages actually in the Brimroar Hills, or is it outside of the Brimroar Hills?
I believe it was outside by the time we first got there, or when we realized when we got there.
And he looks a little crestfallen.
Into the Redstead headgeck.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
and then
the Redstead
desert on the other side.
All right. But then at that point, he said, "And I'll proceed." Because you want to know, is the gate of the ages actually part of my barony?
So does it kind of like that marks the ending of his territory? Is that what we're saying, or it's we left the Brimroar, we got into the hedge.
Mountains aren't anybody's territory because they're real hard to move around.
At some point, it's going to be a case of where your mapping will help to determine where his territory actually stops.
Just sneakily draw the border.
You
So he goes,
wonder.
and then you mentioned the throne, and he was impressed by that. The Zrek, he's looking at his wife, he's looking at this minister, and during that time, were you telling because that would have taken us forever.
Oh, yeah,
Right,
hours.
yeah.
And,
It's been hours and hours.
getting
That,
some water and some food in the meantime.
someone who must look like a captain of the guards shows up as well. And so they look at each other, exchange looks, and then particularly with this guy who must be the captain of his guard, or maybe the captain among his knights, when you mentioned that Whitney Pratt was among them, and in the same sentence with part of the narrative was defeated, that there's obviously some big news with all of that.
With that, well, I've got the Donalar feather on my armor. Then the other point, taking Whitney Pratt's tabard and the holy symbol, or the unholy symbol the one had that I wrapped up into it.
Because the whole time we were going through the story and the rounds, we have all these visual
Right,
aids.
Right,
yeah,
yeah,
we've got so
yeah.
much proof. So one, demonstrating that he was defeated.
Right.
That, I've got his tabard, and then this was the device that one of their casters was carrying.
And as all the he's trying to process it, and he's quiet, very quiet at some of these points. But at some of these things, like when you put forward that tabard that way, he picks the thing up and looks at it. You can imagine that he knew Whitney Pratt, maybe even a personal friend. He'd definitely be a generation older than Whitney Pratt, but still. And he turns toward the guy you recognize as being one of his knight commanders, or chief among his guards. He hands that to him to hang on to, and then you listen to the rest of what's saying. And he turns toward his steward and he says, "Pen, ink." And as the man produces these things, he said, "I declare at this moment a triumph. I declare a triumph for Boris Kirsonov, for Zelnadar, for Jacob Treadstone, for the expansion of the Weldon region of the Worland barony, and unofficially for the location of the throne of Endara, and actually being the first people in known history to achieve the Gate of the Ages. And I must also award it for the defeat of Whitney Pratt, because that is, in chivalric terms, what should happen. But I'm afraid, Boris, that I can't have that portion of this triumph broadcast to the general populace.
No, of course not.
Nor the location or the discovery of the Gate of the Ages, and certainly not the throne of Endara itself. There seems to be too much happening, and some things that are completely confusing to me. You mentioned twice that Zrek were after you. There are Zrek here in Worland.
Yeah, and I'm probably tense at that. Like,
We
what?
Yeah.
There's what in here?
Paladin says smite.
They have they actually rent a house on the main street.
on the main.
On the main street, they're right down here, not a 3-minute walk from where we're standing right now.
What do they do here?
At least we can keep an eye on them if they're on the
Yeah,
main
right.
street.
They are running what's tantamount to a commissary. That the number of people, the people displaced by the Civil War, and for whatever reason, we assume the Civil War has broken out of the boundaries in the north portion of Southland in the Free Baronies, because Vlak Veld, and this is why the news about Whitney Pratt is so disturbing, Vlak Veld has been out of communication for a number of months. That things were at first slow coming, trade was difficult.
We'd probably share that we scried a number of other sites too, not just where to find the next piece. So we've got confirmation that the seat of the House Sikorsky has been sacked.
Then there's been a total power change in Vlakveld. We don't know what's happening there right now. And of course, the area of the Vistari Hills has just been a wasteland for 2 generations. So news is not coming from that direction. Again, we believe it to be something involving the Confederation of Duchies Civil War. But because of all those things, the Zrek, as a group, I don't know where they started, where they began, but they are functioning as a commissary to make sure that food is distributed, that people who have been displaced and are seeking aid, relocation. I've been giving orders to support this group and help them transition people into their new life, whether it's here or they move further south into Arkland. So for you to say Zrek, it's a little like someone saying, oh, yes, the abbots of Arngol are now kidnapping people. It just doesn't make any sense to hear something said
And we
like
have
that.
the Z block, correct?
Yeah,
We do.
we've got the Z block for one. Then I think the major one would be those pages we took from Lindquist's journal.
Yes.
Because
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
he reference and communicate with
Yep.
Zrex, working with Sylvain Vidborg
And did we have anything written down from the actual party where we encountered Whitney Pride? Did they have any sort of journal? I don't remember if we found.
No, they
Yeah,
weren't good
no.
for journal keeping. What you had was them
Oh,
talking,
yeah.
and they never mentioned Sylvain Vidborg with both. They referred to SV
and Sylvain.
and Sylvain.
Yeah, but we give them as much proof as we can. We tell them like these are bad people. They're here in your town, but so long as they don't know that we're onto them. They're just
Well,
Yeah,
and with that
observe, I think,
detail,
but-
and you say, well, that now we're bringing the Confederation of Duchies into it. Sylvain Vidborg, that's a house it's either on the edge of Quint or it's in Hevleret.
It is Hevleret.
So that disturbing again, but that could be some kind of a connection to Black Veld and Whitney Pratt himself. One, I grieve that he's dead. Boris, I celebrate your victory, but then at the same time, what has happened to that family?
Indeed.
And to that entire house, to that barony for that matter. Many things have to be worked out and looked into to find out what's happening there. But enough has happened. You three have done so much that proper awarding is in order. Not only this triumph, I declare that a week hence from this day, that Boris Kirsonov, you will be knighted as a knight of the key, my knights, the Knights of Worland, in
I'm honored, my
recognition
lord.
of what you've done and what you've accomplished. And also then an announcement of noble attainment for both you, Zelnadar, and for you, Jacob Treadstone, in what you have done on this mission, the things you've accomplished, and particularly, Jacob, for the mapping of this entire region, and particularly for you,
visual comedy
Zelnadar,
definitely comes across. Yeah.
Yeah.
for the growth of this Druid circle that has been in Worland since I've been a child, but I've only recently realized the benefits to how it can both enforce the rules and the sway of Worland, but also manifest a greater peace in the Worland region too. That it's also growing now further into Weldon, that portion of Worland. That is my way of saying thanks. So a week from today, and again, he's talking to his steward more right now. A week from this date, we will have this celebration, this knighting ceremony, and you'll be properly recognized.
Thank you, my lord.
And by this point, it's like breakfast time.
Daybreak.
Yeah. Dawn.
And he doesn't look, well, now he's going, I'm off to sleep because I need my sleep. He's already, he's up now.
He's wired.
He's going to get into whatever
He
stuff
had the
is.
best cup of coffee he could have ever had.
He said the quarters that were granted to you while you stay here in Castle Worland are still here. They're there for you to use. You may certainly do so. And I would imagine all that too. The Druids probably also had their own questions and things they
yeah.
would add and,
Yeah.
and things put into that too.
And they get them answered.
And right, but everything is breaking up at this point.
So I'm going to, if you guys are okay with it, I'm going to go with the Druids and stay with June. And there's some things that I would still like to practice with them and some things I want to share with them.
It's been a while since we've been apart. My first thought was like,
I
no,
know.
don't split the party.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, no, we're safe. We're in a good
there's
place.
If a
Zrek
bluebird comes
presence.
pecks
Right
on your
here, and
head.
I'm definitely going to look into that. Like I don't know if you guys had other things you're doing, but I'm going to spend some time in this week before the knighting ceremony. I'm going to track down that among some other things being in the
Yeah,
city.
sure. So-
Mine is mostly going to be research then. That I'm going to be looking into, like any indicator I can find, in records or libraries in the chapel or in the town otherwise, trying to get information about where Shapanov's mission could be within that city.
Okay, sure. So let's just say you all go to you guys go to the quarters you had here in the castle. Zell, and you go with the druids back to their house.
I didn't know we had quarters. We slept in the kitchen last time.
Oh, that's right. You did. They bring you back to that same kitchen. Yeah. So obviously
It's been refurbished. It's the sleeping kitchen.
There's fold-out cots.
Now
on the
there's
wall.
3 benches instead of just a floor. That he himself would never admit that he did anything apart from give you the full extent of his
Oh,
hospitality.
of course not. And I wouldn't comment on another one.
But you are actually taking 2 rooms that like pretty nice suites. So Zell, you go back. So everybody spends the night. You sleep. You wake up. You're doing your morning routines. And let's do a little bit of individual stuff then. And I can just make some rolls to see what you glean in that time. You had each said there's things you wanted to do. How about ladies first?
Okay,
Zellen,
so
what was it you wanted to do?
sorry, self-deprecation. It's so
identify
funny.
So we know somewhere well across the Brimroar Hills, Crawl gets up.
ready to.
Today I shall make a garden. All right, go ahead.
So I'm going to share with them the knowledge that I've gained to imbue spells into stones to see if I can pass that along, or is it because I have been working with these crystal tomes?
Yeah, they wouldn't
that
even
I
let
can
you
do
go
it.
past that. They wouldn't let you even like say anything else. And they're like, show us how. And as you start talking about it and you start casting a cantrip into one of these pieces of a river jasper that you found, and you cast it into it, and you're like,
See?
zing, that's so cool. They're trying it and it's not going. And they try it and they try it, and it's just not doing it.
Okay.
It must be the amount of study, being
Or
attuned,
just exposure to it.
something.
Right.
Yeah, that there's much more to it. So it doesn't seem like it's a thing that druids could do universally, but that you could do.
What about the wizard spell? Do I feel like that also is something? Is that something that I can pass on to them, or is that something really?
Again, so once you say you can do that, they're like, what? How can you possibly do that? And then as you demonstrate it, and then they try. They're always, no,
can't.
this has
Okay.
come out of your study, and most likely that you are attuned to these things now.
So then the next thing I'm going to do is talk to them about how I've established that circle in Weldon, how I could tell who had that natural ability, and suggest that we might want to try to get a circle established in Shepton as well, so that we can have multiple circles. And then the only other thing that I want to do is also talk to them about keeping an eye on the Zrex, and just watching what they're doing, and trying to watch below their surface, not just at their surface.
And again, they share that same kind of surprise, the Zrex. I've talked with some of the representatives. We've helped them when it came to how to best maximize the foodstuffs and how to make sure it was being evenly distributed. They seem like good people.
I know they do seem like that. And maybe some of their recruits are. Maybe some of their recruits come in with a pure purpose. But all the ones we have encountered are evil. And their goal is to reestablish an ancient evil, Vistari,
and as
or
the
Vistar.
without even knowing what that the implication of what that is. Yeah, they're like okay, okay, it's a word. You mean like the Vistari Hills?
The Vistari Hills are there because of a defeated evil that was personified in Vistar. So they do not ultimately have a good purpose. Maybe they have good operators, maybe they are recruiting people who do have good intentions, but the organization's intentions are not good. So you do need to watch them.
Well, with that said, in the time that you've been gone, we do have 6 new initiates in the very first order of our circle. And we had talked about with the communiques we received through the Bluebirds from you of expanding into the Weldon region and possibly even into the Shepton region. But it might be the case of where the 3 of us, that's the 3 of them standing right now, that one of them goes to each one of those locations with a couple of their new initiates, and it does truly expand that circle into all areas of Worland barony. We'll have to consider that. We'll talk more about that during this week, and perhaps we can witness what you're saying with your spell casting abilities, and you can communicate to us through the actual use of one of those stones how you do that, because that would be a great boon if we could do that as well. But yeah, so you probably would go on for hours just talking about
Right.
that and things involving this.
And I'm
wreck.
going to have all of them looking for stones too. I need some smoky quartz on me. So, while they're out and about, while they go to the river, if they go for walks, they need to be looking for the stones.
Okay, got you.
Including all 6-year initiates. What were their names? I wouldn't do that to
I actually
you.
do have a list of names just to use off the line. I didn't print them out right here right now. Sorry. Boris, what were you saying it is you wanted to do while you were here?
I wanted to look into any records kept in the temple or elsewhere in Worland. Trying to find, I don't think I'll find much, but any like indicators of Shapanov's mission. Where trying to narrow down the search a bit. Using resources like that.
Okay, so the person you go to is his steward, a guy named Milton Presley. So you track him down, and when you ask him that, he says, well, we do have some records, various things that are here. But I must admit, we're not the same kind of record keepers that they are in Vlakveld and down at Carnkeldley in Arkland. And he takes you to a room while they're talking. This is the steward's library, and you're looking at it, and you're like, oh, yeah, I've been in this room a couple of times before. And it would be a little bit like, oh, you have a brace of books. How nice. And look at this, a little box full of letters. You are welcome to the full resources of our records library to find out the things that you wish to know.
Thank you.
And go ahead and roll a percentage for me.
Any modifiers to that percentage?
No, just a straight up.
I can't intimidate the books.
You can have my good vibes and thoughts.
14. Guess I'm going with low.
While you're reading it, you do find that there are a number of things actually that must have been written by Abbot Timothy.
Huh.
That whatever things he wrote that weren't expressly in his journal, but that were kept and hung on to, wound up in this library. Maybe he did some work in this library himself. And there's a few notations that are referencing other books that are in this particular library. So he's done a little bit of your research for you.
That's convenient.
And you do find some information that as you're going through it, but it's not information that's taking you toward something involving Shapanov's mission or what Shapanov's mission might be. He himself never even mentions it.
Right.
But what he is making reference to is what looks like a spell that's way over your head. But he also outlines all of the semantic
the ritual
gesturing
procedure
that you would do, and it is very much in keeping with what you've seen before as a paladin. Like a knight from Arngol, would also sort of thing, but or a knight wouldn't, but a paladin would. That you can see that it is done as a particular prayer, and you've done that prayer, and there's a greater esoteric something involving that prayer, but didn't know it was actually spell casting.
Okay.
But there seems to be something about the movements itself that's indicating that it might reveal.
Probably my best avenue then. I'll go into the chapel and unlock it and get whatever incense or anything like that I'd need, and for want of a better word, conduct that ritual sans spell casting.
All right. So, and he actually references that particular chapel. That in the actual reference of his notes, he's talking about you being before the semblance of the Adlai, that column that actually had your sword inside of it. And you go through that and just make it a wisdom roll for me.
Wisdom or religion?
I meant like a wisdom for a different thing, but no, religion makes perfect sense.
Cool. That's a 16 on wisdom and a 21 on religion.
You go through the movements of this, but you can find yourself getting into the spiritual aspect of it, that it wouldn't be like, say, if, either Zelen or Jacob, honestly, were to do the exact same movements. So there's something about being a paladin that actually makes that work better. You don't cast a spell, but you do get something with that roll that you made. You do get something out of it, that as you are completing this, it's as though you are doing some kind of a divination spell.
Okay.
But it's not a spell, so you don't get the results of the spell. But you have this fleeting image. You glean what looks like a metal cloud.
Okay.
Like as though someone, like how a child would draw a cloud, like with a piece of charcoal on a hearthstone. But all of those drawings are metal. Like all the pieces that will be a drawing of a cloud are made out of metal. And then either through it, and it's like kind of like loops interwoven with each other. Those loops are blasted aside in this image as you can see what looks like a dragon made of clouds coming straight at you. And then the whole image just changes. It's just gone. It's done.
Wow. Yeah, I'll memorize how to do that so I can do that again later. That was... I have no idea what that could be, but it at least gives some kind of an indicator.
And that's while you were meditating on wanting to find Shapan's
Right,
mission.
yeah.
All right, yeah. So you probably spend most of your time back and forth. So that
Yeah,
might have
going-
been like on Thursday.
A few days going back and
If
forth.
you were reading
yeah.
and studying and going through these various movements. Jacob, what were
Okay,
you working
I've
on?
been sitting here with my hands folded, being all polite. It's my turn. Yay. All right, I have a number of things actually I want to do, but it
Okay.
involves getting some information. So I want to find someone on the Baron's staff who might be able to tell me particular places I need to go, but knowing that I want to be able to path out my traveling through the town to walk near. I'm not going to go straight to the Zrek area, but I do want to go there. I want to ask, first off, is there a staff member nearby that I can just go and talk to?
Say that again. What's the one specific thing you want to talk to the staff member about?
I
What
want to
are you
ask
trying
him
to
for
find
locations in the city where I might be able to get some things. I want to find armory to get some my arrows and my bow
out?
service.
Okay, so we'll pause right there. So as you're asking that,
Yeah.
you're directed toward a guy named Jordan Kane.
Okay.
And he seems to be, he's either the chief guard or the chief knight. You can't quite get which because the titles seem to be about the same.
Okay.
And so let's just go through that one first, that
Cool.
you're directed to him and you're in like near the main front gate area. There's an office, a training area. And when you walk in and ask, Jordan Kane, a fully armed man, and he was the guy that was like, his hair was sticking up, that was there during that whole debriefing. And he says, I am Captain Kane.
Captain Kane, I have a request, and I present my bow and my arrows and the fletchings that I received from the Donalar. And I say, I need service done on my bow to ensure that it's prepared for the next time we go out, as well as some new arrows prepared from these very, very special feathers for the next time that I find myself in combat.
And again, he holds the stuff, he looks at these different pieces, and he says, that could be easier done. And he calls out, Boyer. And the guy comes over, and he says, communicate to our Boyer exactly how you want them, the length of the arrow, the type of the tip. But then he takes note, and he looks, and he says, that bow, where did you acquire that bow? It looks like, may I? And he holds his hand out to you.
Absolutely.
And he rolls the thing back and forth, and he runs his hand particularly over where that fox-like symbol is on the bow itself. And he says, this looks like the work of Arnarjon Sigurd. I didn't know that any of the works of Arnarjon Sigurd had been just, people that own one of these bows are very well known, and the bows have been cataloged and kept track of. It could be someone trying to do the same kind of work, but if this is a yet unclaimed, unknown, unfounded bow of Arnarjon Sigurd, that is quite the coup. And then he hands the bow back to you again.
Wow. Yeah. Where can I find this man?
I would assume he's still alive. If he is, he'd be very old, but I don't know. In Southland, the best place to find out would be in Carn Keldley. You might find a lead there. Look for a particular bowsmith, Boyer, in the city, and I think he is on Johann Street. I can't think of the name of the shop itself, but ask for the Boyer on Johann Street, and
Okay.
I believe he might be able to put you on to where he might be now. I don't follow it so specifically. I just know the artifact by its site.
Well, thank you so much. This is fantastic news. I'd love to meet the creator of the bow, and I say the pleasantries, and I leave the fletchings and the arrow with the Boyer that he brought over, and I head back to the next order of business.
Okay.
I actually need to go and stop by the Druid Circle, because I think they're the people who might be able to best help me with the poison. If I wanted to do something with that, would that make the most sense?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go and talk with Zelen and June and friends, and I assume do I even know where it is?
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a big old flashing neon signs.
Yeah, it's right by the Dunkin' Donuts.
Right by the Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah. I walk in and knock on the door.
And they answer it.
Cool. And I just bring up that point. I have a request of we have bested many beings, but many creatures, and I among those wasps, and I've taken these glands. Is that what they were called?
Yeah.
Yeah, from them, and I'd like to be able to use these in some way to potentially apply to my arrows, apply to my weapons, in order to have some sort of an additional effect in combat. Would you be able to help me with that, or direct me to someone who
do
could?
something like that. And this is Drew talking, the guy among the three. So I could do something like that, but I don't know how quickly I could do something like this. And a toxin that I could put together would be something that would be to maybe just incapacitate, not to kill. I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for, and I'm not sure that this kind of venom coming from the glands of these things would be workable that way. What I think you need is a true apothecary.
Is there one in the city?
If there is one anywhere in Southland, anywhere, any of the free baronies, the largest city, of course, is Carnkeldley.
I'm noticing a pattern here.
Yeah, it's like, if you're going to go any place to find things, it's in Carnkeldley. I don't know if he's still there. There was a apothecary named Forrest Hillmacher, but I don't know if he's even still there.
Well, that's I'll take that information. I appreciate your help. I'll look into that if we're finding ourselves in the area. If a proper apothecary would be better for what we're trying to create.
Yeah, and if you do want to leave those with me, I could have something for you in a couple of months.
Couple of months. Yeah, I haven't used them in the months that I've had them, so
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I will. I'll hand over. How much does he think his ability to get
At
them out?
least
'Cause I have,
2 of them.
Okay, yeah. So I have 7. So I'll give him 3 of them. And I'll
Okay.
hold on to 4 in case the guy in Carnkeldley, if we ever
Forrest
get there,
Hillmacher, yeah.
yeah, if he's able to do something better with it.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So yeah, pass that on, and hopefully I'll be able to track down some map making supplies. But I need to go and look at the what's it called?
Zrek?
The Zrek area. So this whole time I've been walking through the city. Every time I want to see if I can get a chance to walk past their operation there, take a look at what's going on. Looking after I've relieved?
Released?
Sure. After I've given my bow and arrows away and there's nothing on me that is particularly, oh yeah, that's obviously Jacob if my name's traveling around, changing into normal clothes and using that as a sort of a disguise as I'm walking around town.
Right.
And using that to get as close as I can to this Zrek outpost.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
just
so you're just like
investigating.
wearing clothes. Like you leave
Exactly.
your armor back at the castle.
Just regular clothes.
Do you keep any weaponry on you at all?
Dagger maybe if
So-
people are walking around. Oh yeah, because my sword,
the
yeah,
Kremlin
the
short
special
sword?
the special sword that I have, yeah, it's not Violet's dagger. Yeah, it's not suspicious anyway, so I'll keep that on me.
Okay, so you do have a holdout weapon on you. That's good. So yeah, you go back and you're walking past there. There's nothing about these wreck that you realize that you've been walking next to one for a few minutes, because as you stop, as you're going in the direction of where he said the Zrek are, it's quite obviously this hub. There's so many people in and out. There's carts, there's wagons, there's food stuff, there's things in barrels and boxes. It is a real center of what's happening in this part of the town as stuff is being brought in and then redistributed. And many people are working. And you do see there is a similarity to the garb that they're wearing, a tunic, a robe, that it looks kind of the same. But you've been walking next to one, like I said, for a couple of minutes. And then when you stop and look at the building, just to get a feel for the building, he keeps going and walks right into the building like, oh my gosh, that was a Zrek walking right next to me. Go ahead and roll an investigation.
Absolutely.
See if you can find or figure anything out by it.
How's a 14?
So in the first hour you're looking at it, you do get that from just hearing conversations about people talking, going in and going out, that they talk about expanding, that this house that they're renting isn't really big enough for their operation. So they're already talking about becoming a larger force in the city itself. And, they rent the house. They don't own it. So they've not set down those kind of roots here. Second hour. Go ahead and roll it again.
Definitely. 13.
And I don't think in that time period you'd have heard anything different, apart from that there is an awful lot of people going in and out. How long are you going to stay here and try to find out stuff?
I don't want to be suspicious, but I want to learn as much as I can. But everything so far that I've seen, there's no indication, just on a surface level, that there's anything other than just being on the up and up.
With your 13, your 14 rolls, in those 2 hours, you would note that they're definitely recruiting. They're asking people, and we'll say toward the end of that second hour, someone approaches you and say, "Friend, you look as though you need a greater purpose in your life. Have you thought about joining the Zrex?
I've seen your operation here. It seems very busy. Can you tell me more about what you guys are doing?
We are, truly. And most of this comes from the well-being and the goodness of the people all over Worland, but also from Vlakveld as well as from Arkland. That as we find these materials, they're distributed to us, that we have demonstrated a skill set in organizing and redistributing this to the people who have been displaced by the war itself and others who might just happen to be in need. We even have those that are helping to support us monetarily from the baronies that border Swarthland in the Confederation of Duchies. So a fairly wide-reaching organization designed to help the fellow man, to make sure that all people receive what things that they need. And as he's saying that, he's walking you through, he's pointing where the wagons come through here, we unload this, we distribute by that, we have our checklists and our timetables. We have people that are teamsters, that is, they drive the wagons. He goes through all elements of this operation, how it works, and you are quite sure it is a really efficient operation.
That's very commendable. Were you founded here in Worland?
I joined here in Worland. I myself came from one of the southernmost, a place called Curdsworth Barony. That's in the Confederation of Duchies, and left there as the war was growing and the economy was drying up. I couldn't find work there any longer, and I needed something more, something greater, a better purpose. And so I thought I'd try outside the Confederation, and of course that brought me to Worland, and to becoming a Zrek.
Gotcha. In this time period, is literature like a thing that people would have? Like, would they have pamphlets or anything of that matter, or is that kind of too fancy?
That would be just too fancy.
Okay, so it's all word of mouth that travels around here. So
Right.
there's no anything that I can bring back to Zelen and Boris.
No,
but
and again, there's been no symbol of them. There's been nothing that says, here is our symbol. There isn't.
So odd. Okay. Well, I appreciate the information. I will absolutely see about pursuing whatever I can with you guys. I don't know if at some point you want me to roll a deception check, but I'm gonna go ahead and say thank you so much, and I'll be on my way now.
Do you appreciate getting information from the guy?
I do very much appreciate
Then
everything this
there
man
is
has
no
said.
deception. You just say thank you, and
Fantastic.
you walk yourself away.
And on my way back to the keep to the main area where we
Worland
were.
Castle, yeah.
Yeah, to the castle. I will just stop by and I'll pick up some more map making supplies, something to hold, like upgrading my my equipment at this point, getting better materials for next time we're out and about, creating better maps, and then knowing when I get back to the castle, I'm just going to find someone on the Baron's staff who can help me.
Roll your perception as you're walking back to the castle itself.
Natural 20!
You do that a good amount. Those are some good dice you have. As you're walking in, you lean your head into the like the bowyer's room where he's working on arrows, and he's setting stuff up, he's lining stuff up. And if this is later in the day or if it's a couple of days later, you do notice that he has quivers that have been made, and you're thinking, gosh, if you could put a top on one of these quivers, that'd be great to put this stuff into.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, I will totally do that. Is it? Would I have to fashion the cap myself, or because I know that
You're
I
going to ask
carried.
him. You would have to ask him about it.
I've carried a secondary quiver that I had some sort of a longer, basically like a second tube over top of it, just to keep them all closed and concealed.
It wouldn't fall out or get rain.
Yeah, so I'll approach him and ask him if he can help me. Maybe something not like that massive, but something that I could fashion together and create a document tube.
Yeah, he says it'd be very easy to work out a cap for this, and leather as a hinge, as a flap, a seal where it closes, and then a clasp of some sort that it stays shut. I could certainly work one of these things up for you.
Fantastic. If you could do that for me, that'd be great. Very much appreciated.
I'll try to have it at the same time I have all of these arrows ready.
Yeah, and I'll head back into the keep, and with the maps that I already have. I've already given them to the Worland, I imagine, or to the Baron, and I imagine he's probably already having them redrawn and copied.
Redrawn. Yeah, exactly. So
That's everything I had.
multiple copies.
That was
All
a
right.
full week for me.
So the end of the full week, as you are approaching the end of this, there is a lot of to do where there's already been a lot of development in this town, and to see it in the daylight, you do see that it's gone from about 4 streets that cross each other, like you're doing a tic-tac-toe grid, that it's gone out to 8. And there's like a donut around the city that's like a tent city. That there is so much development that it's almost 4 times the size of what you think of Worland as being. Just an awful lot of it is tents. But very specific to the keep itself, that the preparations for a feast and notable people have been coming up from Arkland. Nobody's been coming south because as word's gone out that a knighting ceremony is about to happen, that they're gearing up toward that, and that tomorrow is going to be the actual knighting of Boris Kirsano. Thank you for listening. I'm Matt Sinkovich, the Dungeon Master for The Empire's Edge, Brimroar Hills. Enjoying the story driving our podcast? Read more about the history of the world, Jordan, the characters, and the region at my website, mattsinkovich.com. Send us your ideas on Twitter at The Empire's Edge. Support the podcast on subscribestar.com/the-empires-edge. But Zelen, something happened, something's different as you're pouring
Pouring a whiskey sour?
as you're pouring a whiskey sour. It's just a little pick-me-up for breakfast.